AI is helping people win contracts as much as AI is helping like the average person do many things, right? We do not let AI write your proposal. I wish I could. Can we just put that on the screen? Don't let AI write
Put a
your
rainbow,
proposal.
very good.
However, AI is really good for, doing some comparison and contrast on your compliance or cleaning up your language, right? It is a good tool for helping teams who know how to use it.
If you're bidding in government contracts and they're worth more than $3 million and you're wondering, what are some of the secrets that you don't know or you can't ChatGPT it on the internet, we're here today with Sarah. She's the Director of Business Development for SAS-GPS, and we're going to talk to her about what are the things that no one tells us about government contracts in 2025 and how you guys can use them to your advantage to win more contracts in the government space. Hi, Sarah. Good to see you again.
Hey, well, nice to be here.
Awesome. All right, Sarah. So there's been a big shift this year, in government contracting. What have you seen? What's this big shift happening right now in government contracting and awarding like large contracts this year so far?
Well, there's been a lot of shifting around in government contracting, and I think as we were working on what we would say, even in this video today, in the last week since we started, things have shifted again, right? But I think one of the things that we have seen is that there is a lot more what we would call best value contracts coming out. I do think that there's going to be a shift from lowest price not guaranteeing you a win per se, and it coming to like sort of best value trade-offs, meaning that if you have a slightly higher priced offer and you actually reduce risk and accelerate delivery, support the mission, those kind of things, that you may kind of have a better chance than you have in the past on some things, maybe not on some of the smaller contracts, but certainly on some of the significantly larger contracts that we see coming out. They're not just going to be, and they are not just lowest price wins. So I think that that's a big difference. That's good for everybody. Past performance and technical approach, how you put your RFP together, the plans that you put together, those are going to be really big parts of the deciding factor on who wins these contracts.
Absolutely. And we've said it a lot in these videos, right? Like every administration that comes in changes up the government contracting space a little bit, right? How are you seeing, like large firms today? Like what should large firms do differently in 2025 to win more contracts?
Well, I think large firms are actually kind of well suited for right now, but your priorities should probably be one. If you're doing big contracts, a lot of those contracts put out documents and information long before that RFP ever drops, right? So you've got industry days and you've got pre-RFPs and you've got draft RFPs that come out, and you should be engaging with those products. You should be attending those industry days. You should be responding to your RFIs. You should be asking questions of the COs when it's appropriate, and doing all the stuff that you can do before this thing drops. We have seen in the last 2 weeks, I have seen a tremendous amount of solicitations coming out on very, very fast timelines. Normally, we would see 30 days, and I have seen probably, I've seen like more than I can count on my hands and toes just this week alone, coming out with 2-week turnarounds. So definitely engage before the RFP drops. Don't underbid, right? And I always say this to everybody anyway. Like, you might win a contract by underbidding, but I think they're going to start looking at whether or not these are realistic staffing costs, right? And you should have realistic staffing costs, because if you don't, you lose money, right? And then you can't do the thing. So avoid underbidding, and then emphasize delivery confidence. Show how you're going to execute this better, faster, and with fewer headaches than it's ever been done before. So credibility, I think, is going to be a big part of it. Like, credibility comes from your past performance and how you present yourself and your facts. So I think we're moving towards credibility and not just sort of like compression.
Gotcha. No, that makes perfect sense. And tying into that, right, are like the new policies that are rolling out or that are constantly changing, right? What are some policy updates you're seeing in 2025 that affects, these bigger contracts?
Okay. So, and we work a lot in construction and, various industries, but Buy America, those thresholds and the loopholes in the Buy America Act are getting closed, and the thresholds are rising. So I think it's 65% right now is a threshold for Buy America, and it's going to climb to maybe 75% by 2029. But basically that means like you can't buy some things that aren't made in America. Like, you have to have buying American-made goods. Um,
Sure.
Steel is a big one. Like you're not allowed to use Chinese steel right now. Like things like that. So that's a change, right? Especially if you are services, not as much of a change, right? But goods, supplying goods to the government, or you're supplying a service that uses a lot of goods, that's gonna become a big one. Um, as always, SAM.gov registration is essential. I do believe there was a change where you have to be active at the time of the offer and at the time of the award. So, like, if you're not paying attention to your SAM.gov registration and it lapses, you don't get the contract. Now, that doesn't happen very often, probably, but you definitely want to pay attention to it. Cybersecurity is a big one that's under the microscope right now, especially if
Yep.
you're working at the Department of Justice or the Department of Defense, those ones, right? Cybersecurity is going to be a big one for you. So the Department of Justice has been using the False Claims Act to actually prosecute firms who misrepresent their like cybersecurity posture in their proposals and then don't actually have that. So it's not something that you want to make up, and it's not something you want to lie about. You want to be sure that the systems that you're using meet the requirements of the solicitation and of the larger department itself. And then one that I don't know if I'm in this one, but late payments to small subs, right, can now impact your CPARs. So if you choose not to pay your subcontractors in a timely manner, that could actually cost you your next award because it's going to go on your record. So that I think is I think that I actually kind of like that one because we work with a lot of small businesses, right? I want people and subcontractors, and that's how you get started in government contracting. A lot of the time when you're a smaller company is that you subcontract and you deserve to get paid. So they're
Yep.
going to be sort of checking on that a little more.
Absolutely. That's great. And we definitely want everybody getting paid for sure. And then what are like some red flags that you're seeing, from the bids this year?
Um, well, I think that there is a lot, like I said earlier, there's a lot of emphasis on past performance. So I think that, um, you know, you're going to lose if you can't say what you've done, and not just what you've done, but address it in the narrative, like how what you've done proves that you can do this job, right? If you don't have a financial runway, that's another one. If you can't cash flow your large deliverables, you're going to be at big risk. Um, Undisclosed OCIs, especially for firms that have overlapping contracts or advisory roles, unrealistic labor rates. If you got to make sure that your labor rates are in line with market pay and and the government standards of that. And then again, cybersecurity, right? Cybersecurity, if that CMMC level 2 or your current SSP or those kind of things, like you need to be aware of them. And then I'm just telling people, like, a lot of contracts are being moved over to what we call contract vehicles, right? And a lot of those contract vehicles are being moved over to the GSA, and the GSA is taking a little bit more kind of responsibility for some things. And so really, I tell people, like, man, if we were really talking about this year, I would talk about like starting to look at how to get on contract vehicles and in that GSA schedule. So.
Gotcha. No, that makes perfect sense for sure. And like I said, it's important, like we always put out the latest and greatest. It's important for you guys to subscribe. If you haven't, please subscribe. We're always giving you guys, what's changing in the government space. There's blogs coming out all the time with info.
Entire video may be
all...
completely obsolete in one.
Absolutely. But yeah, we're always putting out data. So if you guys haven't subscribed, please do so. We're more than happy to answer any questions if you guys leave it in the comments. Now, the big thing that's come out since, we last spoke, Sarah, was obviously ChatGPT 5 came out, and that was a big hullabaloo in the space, right? But again, we go back to, like, is AI really helping companies win contracts in 2025?
Well, AI is helping people win contracts as much as AI is helping, like, the average person do many things, right? We do not let AI write your proposal. I wish could we just put that on the screen? Don't let AI write your proposal. However, AI is really good for, doing some comparison and contrast on your compliance or cleaning up your language, right? It is a good tool for helping teams who know how to use it. So like if you already know what you want your RFP to look like, you kind of have some ideas, then you can see what ChatGPT is doing and know whether or not it's doing what you want, right? Whether or not you're prompting it correctly, whether or not it's hallucinating. And boy, does that thing hallucinate. I don't care what they say about ChatGPT 5. These things still hallucinate. They make things up, right? And you have to be very careful. I actually spoke to a man today who lost a thing because he was using ChatGPT, and he was honest about it. He's just trying to get this done by himself, and like, it put some crazy stuff in there, like crazy. He was like, I can't get this thing to stop just making things up. And I was like, yeah. He's like, I even told it, stop making things up, but it doesn't understand what it made up. So, it is making a difference, right? Parse through those RFPs, create compliance matrices, kind of cleaning up your drafts or even writing first drafts that you could then go and edit, especially sections like maybe past performance and things that are a little bit simpler for it to understand, rather than like really complex standard operating procedures for, safety and construction, IT thing, right? Modeling your price competitiveness based on historical contract data. You could try to get it to do that. It can track your deliverables post-award. It can make you calendars. It can do all kinds of things like that. And agencies are starting to use the AI. I believe that there was just AI purchased through the GSA for all departments in the, all state departments in the federal government to use AI. So we are going to start seeing agencies use, and contracting agencies specifically, like the contracting end of it, use AI a lot more. So AI might even be screening your proposals. So it's not a bad idea to stick your proposal when you're done in AI and say, screen it against this RFP or something. So you can kind of see what the AI is doing, because they're going to have multiple models that they can choose from. Like I think that the government has bought ChatGPT, like a license basically kind of thing for like a private ChatGPT, along with Anthropic, all of them. I think there's like 5 or 6 different things that they can choose from that the government has contracted with.
Yeah.
I think that came out like this last 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure.
Bottom line, you need smart humans, but you're also going to need the smart tools. So
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, you want to be careful with like the hallucination of it, because for sure, I mean, even like the new model that came out, like people have said like, hey, it's better and bigger, but we're still finding that it's still not as accurate as you might want. I mean, it's good for searching stuff and filtering stuff, but like you said, yeah, we like you mentioned, right? There's people losing bids because of the fact that they're like, oh, it's okay, and then they waste even sometimes years or months of their time, and that's not what we want, right?
Well, yeah, and they may not. If you can't write the information that goes into the proposal because you don't know it, then you don't know whether or not ChatGPT knows it either, right? When you know zero, that you don't know if it's making something up, I think is a big part of it, right? So yeah, like don't bid on things you don't know. Like spend your time, instead of like trying to figure out how to train the AI, I would suggest you spending your time trying to write down your, best practices and standard operating procedures. And then you can just feed those into the AI once those are done. Right.
Yep.
So, AI is important, and I do think we should be using it. And I think it's going to eventually be stronger and stronger. But you're still going to need humans.
Yep, no, 100%. Awesome. Well, hopefully that was helpful for everybody who heard that. I think, again, there's always things that are going to be changing. We'll be updating these types of videos as the year goes on and as more technological, obviously, advances come to fruition and whatnot, right? Sarah, like, again, we're always available to help. Sarah, how do we help companies win government contracts?
So we primarily do proposal writing and management. So when you actually have a solicitation that you're interested in, you would just have to contact me, and we're going to look at it. We're going to check it for compliance against things that we learn about your company through conversation with you. And then we're going to tell you what our level of effort would be to not write just a compliant proposal, but a very compelling, risk-aware proposal that I like to tell people is kind of like a marketing proposal, but only using no marketing speak and instead using government RFP speak, and we're really, really good at it. So that's kind of what we do. We can help strategize, help you know what best practices are. Should you protest? Should you not protest? We can give opinions. We've been doing this for 25 years. But we kind of just focus around that proposal process. And we're sort of here when you need us. You don't have to pay us when you don't proposal shop. So
absolutely. Yep. And like I said, Sarah's mentioned that we've won over $45 billion in contracts. So that's always good to work with somebody who has experience.
And
we
rising.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, if there's anything else that you guys need, please let us know. Again, we have, you guys contact us on our website, subscribe to the channel to learn more. Our blog is also, continuously putting out information. And we'll see you guys next time.